back in the Amber Valley. So following on from the mini-series that me and Phil did a couple of weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, we finished on the Cromford Canal at the western portal of Butterley Tunnel. So we're going to be picking up the journey from there today. So we've just come and we've just located the first air shaft on the tunnel. But more on that shortly. Here's where we left you on our last video, the last incarnation of the western portal. The Butterley Tunnel is probably worth a whole video in its own right. I touched on it in the last Cromford Canal video with some photos from inside the tunnel. Just over 3,000 yards long. There's many interesting things about it, including its own wharf within the tunnel, just below Butterley Works, and this adit that we'll talk about shortly. The tunnel struggled with subsidence for many years and was ultimately closed in 1900 after a substantial collapse. It's never been repaired, and this led to the Cromford Canal to be severed. The part of the canal that we're about to see on this video carried goods into the 1940s. So in this video we're going to be looking at the disused section of the Cromford Canal from Butterley to Langley Mill. As last time, I'm going to be flashing maps up on the screen just so you can see exactly where we are. So let's get back to that shaft. So it's situated just to the west of the old Butterley Works site. It's on a little bit of wasteland that you can see. Used to be home to quite a few tracks. And this is one of several shafts from the old tunnel. So that's Butterley Reservoir. The canals pretty much runs directly underneath Butterley Reservoir, but just up from that portal we've got these steps that go down here. Just some random steps in the woods. It's quite a long way down, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit steep, yeah.
So let me rewind a little bit. Butterley Reservoir sits roughly on top of the line of the tunnel. Typically when I look at canals, I find that they keep their water levels topped up with fresh water source, most commonly a nearby river. Back at the inception of the canal, there was resistance from local mill owners further up the valley. They were afraid that taking water from the nearby River Derwent would impact the water supplies to their mills. Butterley Reservoir was a way around this problem. It was built to store water and would be topped up every Sunday. The stored water in the reservoir could then be used to top up the canal. These steps lead down to what we understand is the access corridor to the valves to control the flow topping up the canal. Going back to that adit, I understand this is the adit from this tunnel to the main tunnel just before the western portal. What's behind the trapdoor? Let me see. Should probably point out this wasn't the watercourse going into canal. This is just an access tunnel to get through to the valve gear. Right, so we're at the eastern end of the tunnel now. I don't know if you can see it through there. It's about as close as I can get at the moment, unfortunately. That's the eastern portal to the Butterley Tunnel, and that is the original portal. So it's not a newer portal like we saw on the other side of the tunnel. And we've got a cascading steps. That's a feed from what used to be Butterley Park Reservoir at the top of the hill. That was a nice little stretch just from where we've just started at the other end of the tunnel. But I think for a while I think we do lose the canal somewhere under here. You'd never know, would you? It's very overgrown at the minute. So we've got Codnor Park Reservoir on that side, and over there, somewhere in there is the canal. Oh, we can get in here. So has it been infilled?
Yeah, or just dried up, and then all the crap's accumulated over years. You can see the bed though, easy enough.
Yeah, you can still see masonry on the side there, and amongst the trees and the bushes. This reminds me a little bit of the Lady Lee Arm near Worksop, in the same kind of state, stood in the canal bed. You'd never know, would you? I don't know how many people walk through here with the dogs and things and realise there's a canal here, or was. That's Codnor Park Reservoir. It's just starting to rain. The canal is just running underneath the car park here. We've just had a nice bacon butty. Well, technically sat on top of the canal bed. But we're coming up to where the arm for the Pinxton Canal branches off now. So that's the bridge. We're at the junction with the Pinxton Canal. That's for another video, so I won't go into that too much. But your Cromford Canal is on that side now. It's hard to get your head around this because this has been dug out, I understand. So that's not the canal down there, but somewhere in there would have been the Cromford Canal. So at some stage it looks like there's been quite a lot of reprofiling done around this area. We can see from some old photographs, including the ones that are on the information boards at the side of the canal, that the Cromford Canal and the Pinxton Canal were on the same level. So just staying with this photo, so you'll see the lock just underneath the bridge there, lock 1. That boat that you can see in the foreground is not actually on the Cromford Canal. It's on a private arm that went into the lime kilns for the Butterley works. But we'll carry on in this direction, following what roughly is the route of the Cromford Canal. So this next section will be my favourite part of the Cromford Canal from the disused sections that we've seen. So between here and Jacksdale, we've got 7 locks. And there's quite a lot of useful information on information boards alongside the canal. So I'll try and piece that together as we go along. So we've cleared Codnor Park Reservoir now. We're just on the fringes of Ironville. We're coming across what I think is our first lock that we've encountered on the disused section of the Cromford Canal. Boat dock lock number 2, sign says. So this is the second lock, but it's the first one we've seen because lock number 1 there's no longer any evidence of. And that first lock was called Top Lock, and it was just by the Pinxton Canal Bridge that we can see on this photograph. So you can just make out it used to be a lock. You can see things, I'm assuming, where the gates would have gone there. Bracket still fastened to the woodwork. I think we're in the worst time of the year now for vegetation, unfortunately, so it is what it is. That's a nice view looking down the canal. And there's where the gates would have been. The flaps. What are they called? It's not flaps, not the right word. Paddles, that's the word.
I've on them when I've been on boat.
Just looking back into the lock there. So this is Bridge 13, King William Bridge. Now this bridge does date back to the original 1790 building of the canal. So that's the first lock where we've actually noticed a drop in levels, because that last one, it was kind of only one side where the canal was still intact. So lock number 4, Smith's Lock. The large building on the left of this photo was the former Butterley Company Mechanics Institute. It's come down a bit off the towpath. So bridge over here obviously has arrived after the canal. That's the Erewash main line, so Nottingham to Chesterfield, Sheffield line. This is a nice little 3-arch viaduct. It's another lock. Get a bit closer to the edge in this one. I don't want to be in there. One of these is the inspector's house. I'm not quite sure which one is and which one's the tunnel office. Locks are coming thick and fast. I love seeing all the old disused locks. I think you learn to kind of take locks for granted when you're walking down the canal, but it's great to see. It's great to see the old ones that are in ruin. It'd be better if they weren't in ruin, but you know what I mean. So we can see the line of locks going off as far as we can see, and here's another one. I've lost count, I really have. We do need a little bit of vegetation clearance though. It's got some old brickwork on the other side, so that would have been the site of the Butterley forge on that side. Quite a large works. So I was just mentioning about Butterley Forge, and we've got an old bridge abutment here. Something's sticking out the top there. I'll have to investigate that. But I understand this was a line that went across the canal from over in that direction. So there's another view of that bridge, and another one of those. We don't know can't figure out what they are. They've got like a bracket on top, like a gate would sit on, and at the bottom actually, yeah, I think they're gate posts. So this area around Portland Wharf is an interesting location, and one I'd like to revisit again to talk more about the tramway. But let's just study the map for a moment. You can see the forge on the left hand side is quite clearly visible, and there's the bridge I put an arrow to, and the Portland Wharf there, the canal basin, just on the right hand side. But let's just look at the missing bridge for a moment. So where we've just been stood, this was originally an arch bridge across the main canal called Lone Bridge. Now this was replaced by a steel railway bridge later on to link the forge with the Portland tramway. I understand the steel bridge on the left of this photo was the latest incarnation. The steel bridge actually stood until 1997 when it was demolished due to corrosion damage. Let's investigate those bridge foundations a little bit more. So we're up on top of what would have been the bridge on the side of the forge. That's looking across the canal to the other side of the bridge. Now we're just a bit confused what these are. They're not lined up with the bridge. I thought they might have been from a chop down, from a like a lift bridge or something like that, but really not sure. So the Cromford Canal's going off in that direction, but we've got a little spur off here into Portland Wharf. So 2019 on this bridge, it's been rebuilt evidently. It's that little bridge we've just been stood on there. Let's get down in the thistles. Alright, so let's have a look down into the Portland Wharf. So that's the river Erewash underneath us here, and that's another abutment. So the Cromford Canal's just the other side of that line of trees. So we stood back on the other side from that little line that we just saw that crossed the canal, the railway line that is, going off in that direction. So we've got the Portland Wharf on this side down here, but there's nothing, it's landscape now. In fact, you can see there, children's playground. Right, so a mile or so down from Jacksdale, where we've just been looking at the Portland Wharf. So the canal from here takes a little bit of a, what's the word, deterioration. It turns into a little bit of a stream. We've got some bridge abutments here. Now this is a disused railway line. Don't know how to explain this. It's just a little link line that ran from the Great Northern over in that direction, over to the Midland Railway, over to the Erewash line. Some nice abutments in the trees. So there's the canal. Just a little bit of red brick, and like we've seen on many bridges, the outside layer is the blue engineering bricks. So that's the canal going off in that direction where we've just come from, and that's where we're going to be going. But I think we've got a bit more bridge here from the railway line to see as well. Indeed we have. Bit of masonry there. We can see the layers of the bricks here. The path goes up. It's maybe been made into steps, look. And we're digressing a bit, but this is the track bed for that disused railway that we've just seen going over the canal. That's the bridge going straight across there. So things have taken a bit of a turn since we were at that bridge just then. I mean, we said the canal pretty much went to a stream. It's basically disappeared, and we've been walking along this path trying to figure out at which side the canal is. I mean, look at that. And there's no contours. We've been trying to figure out, there's two wharfs here. We've gone past a lock somewhere without even realising. There's two wharfs, and we've been trying to figure out from the lines of the trees exactly where they are. So you're gonna have to take my word for it. So the canal should be dropping here. We was a bit confused why that, well, what we're calling the towpath, but this footpath was starting to climb. And we saw quite a bit of masonry, lines of masonry coming across the path here. And we noticed on the maps there was a bridge over the top here, and there we go, you can see it going down back onto the other side, the towpath. So it's going off here, must be that little bridge on the map. Just get through the nettles. That's the bridge again. So technically this is the bridge. It's so overgrown now, but would have been standing over the top of the old canal cut in there, and the path going off in that direction would have run alongside that wharf we can see up to the wharf buildings, Codnor Park Wharf, if memory serves correctly from just looking at the maps. And for once, my memory is bang on the money. So you can see the little bridge there on this old National Library of Scotland map, and you can see the wharf there going off on the left-hand side. And just on the other side of the bridge, it's flattened out a bit of the landscape, but the bridge is there. It could well be something in there amongst all that mess. So I'm stood right now looking off in that direction along that tree line. I'm stood where the canal cutting would have been. So that's the end of that little section, and there's the route of the canal just going straight through there, the side of those houses. Little stiles designed to weed out the larger parts of the population. Oh dear. We've just been stood just to the right here, looking up through that gate. So this would have been a bridge coming over. So the canal went underneath here, but looking in that direction, as you'll see, just a field. Nothing where that canal would have appeared here from a bridge underneath us here. But all this from here now, for quite a while now, was all open cast mining. So sadly, as you can see, no canal there, is there? There's no suggestion that there was even a canal here, unfortunately. Correction, that's not where our story ends today. Just a little bit more about the section between here and the terminus at Langley Mill, where it connects to the Erewash Canal. Back in 2020, it seems like a lot's happened since then, doesn't it? Planning permission was granted to restore the canal north from Langley Mill. Despite work at the end of the Erewash, the A610 main road was a major obstacle in any further restoration of the Beggarlee extension. We can see the new proposed route of the canal here. After leaving the existing basin at Langley Mill, it will climb 2 staircase locks before taking a sharp right turn under the A610. Turning left sharply, it will then follow the A610 as far as Stone Lane in Brinsley. So looking at Google Maps Street View, we can see there's already an old disused railway bridge, so that's pretty convenient, and that's where the canal's going to be passing under the road. So that's the end of the section that we're looking at today. So I hope you've enjoyed that. That's a really, really contrasting tale of two halves there. That first bit that we went through on the way to Jacksdale, I think that was my favourite bit of the Cromford Canal so far. But yeah, this last bit since that bridge, non-existent really. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll get to see some more of the Cromford Canal soon, the disused sections. But until then, take care, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.